as someone who, I'm only 15, so I'm a person who can't vote like a lot of people in this high school. And I just think as people underage, it's important to be informed. I hear a lot of my classmates and people from other grades in the school and just around, like generally people I talk to who say like they don't really care because nothing's going to affect them. And while you don't necessarily have a choice, pretty much everything's going to affect you because the policies and the systems that are put in place now are what are going to be there by the time we are old enough to make decisions. So I think like being educated and knowing what's going on is important because a lot of people, particularly in Kansas, vote based on what their parents did. Like they've just always been a Democrat, they stay a Democrat, or always been a Republican, they stay a Republican, and it's just gone generations. And blind voting is like a horrible issue. Like for example, our governor right now, a lot of Republicans blindly voted him, and look where we are now. Our school can barely afford paper at the end of the year.
I think that's right. I feel like if the Democrats win, economically speaking, it'll level the playing field a little bit. Because right now, if you're born rich, you have an instant advantage over everyone else in the country. Your entire life, you're going to have tax breaks, you're going to have more opportunities, you're going to have your foot in the door for employment. And then if you're born, poor, you're going to be struggling your entire life. You're going to be in an environment that does not promote success. And a more fair tax code would help promote equality. So that's why I think that the Democrats.
Well, I think that, if, say, you say about how kids are being born rich now, but if you look back, maybe 100 years or whatever, how long it took for their grandparents, whatever, to be building their fortune, they did work hard, and they did that so that their kids and future generations would be able to have, maybe a little bit more wealth and lifestyle. I don't see anything wrong with that, just because, they're going to have a little bit easier life. Yeah, their previous generation was worked for that. There's no reason that they should be punished because their grandparents worked harder than everybody else did.
And I'm not saying they should be punished, but it's the social mobility in this country is lower than it's ever been. Out of all of American history, right now it's harder to move up social classes than it ever has been. I'm just saying that we should make it easier for that to happen.
So why do people who make more money need to pay more in tax?
I'm not saying they need to pay more than everyone else. I'm saying that they should pay the same rate as everyone else. Because right now they're paying lower. I don't see how that's fair. They do.
In a practical sense, it's by a minimal amount. They're not paying less than the average person.
Mitt Romney paid 12% income tax. My family pays around 30% income tax.
That's still a relatively bigger chunk of his wealth than it is coming from an average household. It's definitely factually based too. If you come, but that's why. If you think about it from more of a practical standpoint, if those people, they're working to build up something like that, and then we're trying to, but most liberals aren't advocating for us to be paying the same tax rate as, the highest 1%. They're advocating for more. They wouldn't do much more. And that's what they're really advocating for. They're not advocating for equality. They're advocating for more rates.
Well, what did you mean by a much larger chunk? Like, even though it's a larger amount, isn't 12%, like 12% of a $50,000 income is no different than 12%.
Think about somebody who had the original ability to build up their wealth to that point. Those are the people that are really stimulating and driving America's economy as a whole. And if they can have that wealth, then to be able to build even more on their businesses, that's going to boost the economy. All the Fortune 500 companies, that are based in America, if they were like that, that would destroy America's economy. They wouldn't be able to stimulate America the way that they do right now. In a fiscal sense, it's just ridiculous to be taxing them more than what they're supposed to be, even currently what we're at now.
What do you guys think about the raising the cap on the Social Security tax? Because right now, you pay around 6% out of every paycheck to Social Security, unless you are making over, it's $125,000 a year. After that, you only pay. So if you make $1 million, you're only paying taxes on $125,000 of it. Do you guys think that if you're making $1 million a year, you should still pay 6% like everyone else?
Well, I I advocate for a flat tax rate across the board instead of having individual taxes on Social Security, sales tax, state taxes. You just have a flat 20 that gets spread out through everything else, which I think that individual taxes are, minimizing your freedoms in general. I don't agree with it all. So,
I do think that the tax system should be more fair and more equally spread out. I will agree with you on that.
well, when I say like equally spread out, I'm not talking about across demographics. I'm talking more about like through individually, it should be a flat tax rate through everything that you have to pay for in general.
So you're saying like one common fee?
Yeah,
rather
it'd
than
be
a
like,
separate-
it'd be like a total, everybody would have, like a total, instead of having to pay that extra 7 cents when, you buy soda, at the gas station. It's, you just out of the paycheck, it's just a flat. And that's, it's backed by a bunch of different politicians, but it's not being passed because people are advocating for more taxes in general, and that's why nothing else can be done. But we have people from a Democratic standpoint and from a Republican standpoint that all kind of want that plan, but nobody's advocating for it because, people, they're getting paid or they're getting, money into their campaigns to not advocate for that, even though it would help out American greatly. Which brings me to like another point is that there's way too much money in politics right now. And the reason why Hillary, was doing so well in her campaign to begin with is because she's getting funded so heavily.
You mean as opposed to Bernie?
I
What do you
mean,
mean?
like she took in a lot of money from different super PACs.
Within the primary, or do you mean now?
Overall, Hillary had one of the biggest super PACs ever in any campaign almost, because she was out there to help with so many people, so many different lobbyists coming to her, that she had her campaign almost totally paid for. She spent so much money on her campaign, it's a ridiculous amount. And all of it's tax-free too. Any money you give into a campaign, it's just blatant money, which I think should be illegal.
I have a question for you, Evan. If, and this goes back to the taxes you were talking about, if Gary Johnson plans to eliminate the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, how is he going to implement his tax cut?
Well, I mean, because we only need the IRS to, audit different companies and see how their income is coming in. And then if it's just that one flat rate, then the expense reports are never going to be much simpler. It's not going to be something that's so complicated that we need something for all these different percents, for all these different factors coming into your tax plan. It's just a one sum.
What about equal pay? You're talking about equal taxes, what about equal pay?
Are you talking about
Genders?
genders?
Equal pay for equal work. And I mean, in a lot of instances, things that like stimulate you intellectually and are based on merit, men and women can do the same thing, so they should be paid the same. But I don't think that if someone's putting in the same amount of time or effort, but they're not getting the same result, that they should be paid equally. Like, for example, men, like, they're biologically stronger, so if your job is to, I don't know, lift boxes or do construction work and a woman can't do it as effectively, no, she shouldn't get the same amount. But if, say, there was one and she was able to reach the same result, then her pay wage should be the same.
Meritocracy. Everything, all pay should be based on merit alone.
Yeah.
Not on how rich you are, not on how long you've been there. It should be based on merit.
That's why I think that the women making, 75 cents to the $1 or something like that. I know it's in the 70s, but I think that's,
74.
yeah, 74. I think that whole bit is more or less in there. Because I see a lot of people who are, working in jobs, say, a lot of women who want to be scientists, and they're like, oh, well, not as many women are scientists. They should be the ones advancing field of studies. And there are not as many people, not as many women that are, making these discoveries. And that's because a lot of women aren't driven to do those jobs as compared to men, And that's why they're making, less, is because they are working the same jobs and they are getting the same pay. They're just not as many women are working those jobs, and that's why it looks like there's, less pay.
Well, no, because that's not the 74 cents to the dollar, or 56 if you're Hispanic, 64 if you're African American. That's based on taking two people working the exact same job and what they're being paid. It doesn't matter how many.
That's not actually how it's based. Is they take the average salary of every man and the average salary of every woman, and they take unemployed people into account too. But since there are like way more unemployed women than there are unemployed men, it inflates the number I mean, it slightly inflates the number and to make it look like women make less.
A little bit more than slightly. I mean, to be able to get a number like that, like you're talking about, they would have to do individual case studies for millions of people, and that would take 20 years to do. It would take so long. They wouldn't be able to get an exact number like that. That's why I think it's so inflated. Yeah, maybe it's like a nickel difference in some instances, but it's minuscule. It's nothing to do, not at all 74. It's totally nothing.
And we're not saying that sexism in the workplace is not a problem,
Yeah,
because it
definitely not.
totally is.
Definitely
Like, I guarantee you, there are instances in where women are making less than men just because of their gender, but that's not across the board. The majority of places, the majority of companies are progressive.
Yeah, and that 74 number, that came from one study that happened almost 3 years ago, and it was done in a very, very biased standpoint.
Well, yeah,
And when everybody across America is using that as their, cornerstone for the argument, it's just, it twists the view of everything so hard that it's like really just like making people so delusional as to what the real problem in it is that nothing can be done, because people are just going so hard on that one fact that they can't look at anything that's like real and concrete to solve.
I mean, the fact that people make less than other people because of their gender, because of their skin color, I think is just absolute trash.
Trash, and like you don't agree with it? Or
I
trash,
I don't agree with it. I think everybody should be, I mean, I don't think, minimum wage needs to be $15 an hour. I think you should be paid on what you do and how difficult what you do is and how much you do.
I think the minimum wage is good where it's at right now. By the way.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, we at least,
You can go ahead.
we at least need to adjust for inflation, because $7.25
That is true.
in
That is true.
2007, when they set it at $7.25, is
a
like,
lot,
it's
yeah.
like $6 now because of inflation. We should at least adjust it for inflation.
I think
So you
that
want to
should.
bring it down, is what you're saying?
No, we should raise it to adjust for inflation,
because
because
that equals what, $6? What
Okay.
is it?
Yeah, but minimum wage, putting it to $15 is ridiculous. That's gonna kill small businesses. We're almost gonna have no small business standpoint. That's exactly what happened in Europe. So many small businesses. I know plenty of people who, I have a friend who moved to America. Her mom moved to America because she worked at a small business, and all of her friends who own small businesses, they all died because with these.
Oh.
No, they didn't die. Their businesses died. I was
Oh,
like,
okay. I was
like all their
like,
businesses
oh.
died, but, like, no, because they're forking out so much money to people who are doing like relatively insignificant jobs, and it's just they can't support their own businesses, and so many Americans are employed through their small businesses or through somebody else's small business. They're not be able to have their business. Yeah, they're gonna have a $15 an hour paycheck for maybe a few months or a couple of years or so, but that business isn't going to be successful. It's not going to advance at all, because they're not going to be able to bring in any new employees, because they have to fork out so much money to them for doing jobs that like they could have their kids do just as easy.
another thing to consider is, at least in my opinion, it should be on a state-by-state basis, because the cost of living in like New York City is way higher than the cost of living in Wichita, Kansas. $15 an hour to somebody living in New York City, which has some of the most expensive living costs in the world, is barely enough to get by, but $15 an hour to someone living in Wichita, Kansas is, way more than what's needed to survive.
Isn't it funny how in the more liberal areas the cost of living